Okay, so in any level, right? Level 1, level 2, level 3, one of the very first things that you're going to want to do is communicate with somebody. You know, the electricity goes out, your phone goes out, your internet goes out, and you don't know what happened, how long it's going to last, you know, what caused it. Is it the whole neighborhood? Is it the city? Is it just my house? You need to be able to communicate, and you may have kids or parents or relatives somewhere that you want to find out how they're doing. You have to be able to do it without, in case you don't have an actual phone. So Betsy's going to cover for you one of the solutions, and we'll turn it over to her. Betsy Putterman.
Hey.
Longtime CPG member.
Thank you, Marcy. So, hello, fellow survivors.
Hello.
So I'm presuming that you're attending this Zoom call because you are being mindful about the future and all the things that Marcy just said, the future of our civilization and what might develop to be very unfavorable circumstances for maintaining our current lifestyle. And you've come to get real information on what it's going to take to survive and even flourish into the future. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. Now, as with any organization, we need to begin with communication as a topic and activity. Here's what LRH has to say about it in HCOPL 9 January 61, Duties of HCO. Quote, the first action of HCO is communication. Before anything is done, communicate and take care of communication. Then do other things. Communication has priority over all other actions. And then from Dianetics 55, I felt that this applied to us pretty well. When we say somebody should be in present time, we mean he should be in communication with his environment. We mean further that he should be in communication with the environment as it exists, not as it existed. And when we speak of prediction, we mean that he should be in communication with his environment as it will exist, as well as it exists. End of quote. Now, if we as CPG members look at our communication as it exists currently, we're doing pretty well. But looking at communication as it will exist, as we're trying to predict, we're sadly behind in making that a priority over all other actions. In a real emergency, when all sorts of chaos and interruptions on the existing communication lines might occur, it has been found that the best way to maintain communication lines is by using what is called the ham radio. So what is ham radio? So just a little bit of background here. The Italian physicist Marconi invented a wireless telegraph or radio in 1896. He and others continued to research and developed a technology which constitutes the basics of a long-distance communication. And we use that currently. Your telephone is actually a radio. It's a transceiver, meaning it transmits and receives radio waves. But in an emergency, it very often won't be operational and should not be relied upon by the members of CPG or the Ability Club. The technology of radio has developed into our worldwide super commercially viable communication networks. But there's still room for you and me in the game as amateurs. So ham radio is made up of amateur people who are learning about radio. The original term of ham is lost in history, but it's understood today that ham or amateur radio provides the broadcast and the most powerful wireless communication capability available worldwide to the individual private citizen. The Federal Communication Systems, the FCC, governs the use of ham radios for those in the USA. And per them, the definition is the amateur services for qualified persons of any age who are interested in radio technique solely with a personal aim and without pecuniary interest. And pecuniary means like you want to make money. So we who are part of CPG and who wish to simply be in communication with each other need to become proficient at using our ham radios legally and competently. Okay. So let's get started. Only those who have passed a test based on radio technology can legally operate a ham radio. This is a legal mandate of the FCC, and using the radio without a license carries severe penalties. It can be a $25,000 fine, and you can be put in prison based on, some people have tried to get on and they end up jamming some emergency people other places, turning on a hurricane warning in Dallas so that for an hour and a half, all the hurricane all of their horns were bleeping a danger, danger, danger. And I think that person got put in prison. And they just didn't know what they were doing on the radio. So don't do that. Passing the most basic test qualifies you as a technical operator and gives you a license to transmit and receive communication on very specific radio waves and bands. Now, I want everybody to write this down. It is going to be in the chat, but I would like you to get paper and pencil. To prepare for the amateur radio technicians class test, the following will greatly aid you. I recommend this book that is available on Amazon, and it is Ham Radio for Dummies, 4th edition. Okay, Ham Radio for Dummies, 4th edition. We will be using this book as a tutorial and basing the class on because we're going to try to continue to do this frequently so that everybody is on board. So to prepare, we're going to have we're going to be basing the class on various chapters for study in the following weeks and months ahead. Please get this book and be serious about obtaining all the knowledge you can. Now, the qualifying tests of 35 multiple choice questions are drawn from the pool of 423 questions. There are a number of online websites that will provide you with the questions and answers so that you can practice. This one is recommended because it will provide you only with the correct answers that are part of the multiple choice questions that constitute the FCC test. So that is www.HOLLAND, Holland, ARC, .org, hollandarc.org. So the information is here. Click on your license, on the thing called your license, all the way to the right, scroll down to technician, which is the very first license that you get, and practice the tests. Of course, just like any study, you can memorize the answers and pass the test. But we know how little that really leads to an educated view of a subject. So maintain your student integrity and learn from the many questions and answers, and consult the textbook we are using. And it may take a couple of weeks for you to be fully ready to take the test. Once you feel confident that you're ready to take the exam, find your local amateur radio testing site. And that's wherever you live, there will be one. And those tests usually convene once a month. These are run by already licensed ham radio volunteers. Remember, it's amateur and it's all volunteer. There is a nominal fee from the FCC to take the test. For those in the Clearwater area, the next tests are held at you can write this down, Clearwater Fire Training Facility. The Clearwater Fire Training Facility, and it's put on by the Clearwater Amateurs Radio Society. They call themselves CARS. And the address is 1716 North Belcher Road, Clearwater. And the dates of the test are February 12th, and March 11th. That's all they have on there so far, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. So I recommend you do that. Get going on it right away, and good luck. Now, those of you who have passed your test previously, very well done. As you may have passed it a while ago, you may want to review some of the earlier material. Do, however, get the ham radio for dummies, as earlier mentioned. So let's assume you've passed your test and you're ready for some practical application. That takes us to the acquiring of a ham radio, and that can be a big topic. Now, if you want to get your, ham radio at the same time, that's okay too. Go ahead and order that and get it on the way. And so what the CPG has adopted in the past, and those of us that have ham radios in this regard, are using one called Baofeng, B-A-O-F-E-N-G, B-A-O-F-E-N-G, and then capital U, capital V, dash, 5R. Now that's the one that a lot of people bought. And that is a handheld, you hold it up and it's like a walkie-talkie, but it actually has more capability. Now, the new one, which I recommend that you get, but it's really just an upgrade and it's not that much different, is the Baofeng, capital U, capital V, dash 82. And you can get it on Amazon for $29.75. That's a great deal. It's a good radio, not too fancy, but it is adequate. The hatting for both of those is pretty comparable, so it's recommended that you get the UN82, and it's currently, like I say, and it's recommended that you get a carrying case for the possibility of necessary travel. Get some spare batteries, if you get some recyclable ones, and all that stuff that we know that we need when there's no power. And if you can, get a longer antenna that screws into the top there. You take off this old little short one that's about that big, and you get one that's about 12 inches, 14 inches, because it's going to improve your broadcasting distance. These radios do not broadcast very far, like maybe 3 to 4 miles at the most. So that's something we have to, in doing our networking, we have to figure out how we're going to handle that. Those of you who have either ones can find an excellent hatting video. It will apply to both. It's on YouTube. So there's another thing to write down. YouTube and it's Baofeng UV-5R for beginners. And it says specifically not a Rubicon product. I think maybe there's another one, but that one we've looked at, George and I, and my husband, who's really he's a higher class, excellent person who knows a lot about ham radio and is available to help us. So you should become familiar with your radio's features before our next class. Now, I'm going to be on the free winds during the next month's meeting, but George will run the March meeting presentation to answer any questions you have at that time after this initial study that you're doing. So here's some homework that all of you, I hope you'll take this seriously and do this. For those, because you don't want to have some tragedy, some horrible situation that's on this planet and go, oh, my phone's not working, nothing's working, and I didn't really get hatted on the radio. I don't want that I don't want any of you to have that reality. So those of you who need to get licensed, get studying and take the test. And it's recommended you get the Baofeng UV82 as soon as possible. For those who have their radios, get through the Baofeng online tutorial and come to a workshop we're going to have where everybody's going to have their radio, and we actually have somebody set up who is a ham person who will be available if we can get it at the time we want it. It just says it's on February 18th. It'll be in the afternoon, so you can go to the farm in the morning and then you can come to this.
Actually, we're going to have to change it because of that. It'll have to be on the 11th. It'll be Sunday the 11th.
Well, that doesn't really give them enough time to get all that stuff done, Marcy. What about the week after that?
Then it'll be after. Yeah, we could do it on the 25th then.
The 25th?
Yeah.
Is that Easter?
Sunday?
Okay. I think the 25th because to get some of that studying done and
Okay.
review. I think the 25th. Okay, so I'll have to set it up with the guy again because I had just set it up today. So we will get data back to you. But we will George and I will be there to get everybody how to get on and how to communicate to somebody who's a ham operator and actually get in comm with them. So
Great.
for anyone who wants to get ahead in the game, be sure to get the Ham Radio for Dummies and study chapters 1 and 2 so that when we get together again, I'm not giving everybody a gazillion MUs.
Yeah.
Okay. So to conclude, I have another quote from LRH. It's from Dianetics 55. A man is as dead as he can't communicate. He is alive as he can communicate. With countless tests, I have discovered, to a degree that could be called conclusive, that the only remedy for livingness is further communicatingness. One must add to his ability to communicate. End of quote. Now, keeping in mind the above reference, let's add to our abilities to communicate to each other now and in the future, no matter how disrupted our culture becomes. And we can do that by learning how to use our handheld ham radios very competently. To be honest with you, I'm only a step ahead of you in understanding these things we need to learn and practice. And we need to drill to gain these communication skills that are truly essential. I'm willing to learn more, and I hope you are too. Fortunately, we have George, my husband, who is knowledgeable and he's willing to really help us along. With this new program, there's no excuse for not making a go right to learn about using your radio. So with things in our world heating up, we can no longer postpone gaining the abilities and materials needed to be in communication. My goal is to have every one of us communicating weekly through their own ham radios. And there is what that means in ham terms is people check in with a certain call sign, and that person goes through the list, who's the first to sign up, second, and then he goes back through and he talks to each person. And you talk for maybe 2 minutes or a minute. But everybody hears it, they're all connected up, and that's called a net. And we want to have one. I want to have one. And I'll be calling, it'll be a certain time, and everybody can check in. Maybe we'd like to do it every week, but if you can only get in once a month, you're still using your radio and practicing. My goal is to have everyone communicate weekly so that if a real emergency occurs, it's not a problem. We'll be ready. So let's get going and have some fun. Thank you.
Great.
I have
Love
a question, if you don't mind. Would you mind just repeating was it hollandarc.org?
Holland, Holland.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions?
What was the model of the Baofeng radio that you had mentioned?
Okay, the Baofeng, the new one. I mean, you can still get the 5R, but this is the 82. It's UV-82. Baofeng U, capital V-82.
Awesome, thank you.
Sure. It sounds like that's all the questions. You guys are good typists or fast writers.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Was the YouTube program you recommended?
Oh, sure. The YouTube program is called, let me just get down here to where it is. Yeah, it's on YouTube, Baofeng 5R for beginners. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can you spell that? That kind of all ran together for me. Spell it
Bao-
out.
Name of the radio is Baofeng, Baofeng. Then the model is capital U, capital V, dash 5R.
And if you can look on YouTube and you'll find lots and lots of tutorials on whichever model you get.
And we looked through a lot of those tutorials, and this one seemed to be the most proper gradient and clear. Some of them get super complicated right away, and we don't want that.
Hello.
Hello.